What's going on, guys? So we are actually just getting back to town. Well, really, I'm about an hour and a half away. Was out of town on business. I am currently in the Subaru Legacy. If you didn't see the video, I bought this as a nice car to be in with reasonable fuel economy that's reliable and all-wheel drive. That was really the premise. It's a 2025 Subaru Legacy Premium, I think is what they call it, and I get about 33 to 35 miles per gallon while I'm on the highway, and it has absolutely been crazy weather. So by the time you see this, unless we get a tremendous amount more weather, people will probably know about when this was, just because we haven't had rain in a long time here in South Texas. That said, I've been looped into a conversation string and a development string for a fifth wheel that a lot of you might be relatively excited about. So let's talk about it. Hang tight, I'll be right back. Okay, so as many of you know, whenever I review fifth wheels, I usually start with the numbers. Actually, I do that anytime I review virtually any RV. I start with the numbers because I want you all to understand what the numbers look like when it's dry, what the cargo carrying capacity is, basically once you start adding weight to the RV, how much cargo the manufacturer says that the RV is capable of carrying, and also the wheels, the tires, the axles, and all of that stuff, because those numbers are critically important when it comes to safely towing any type of RV. And one of the things I always precaution people about are kind of misleading advertising when it comes to what type of RVs require what type of tow vehicle. There's a lot of fifth wheels out there, for instance, that will say HT, or they'll actually say half ton on them to make people believe that these RVs are designed to be towed by half-ton trucks. And that's not to say there isn't some magical unicorn half-ton truck that, you know, is out there that can tow them. The reality there is that most people who buy a half-ton truck or have a half-ton truck with the purpose of towing an RV are going to use the truck that they have. It's typically going to be a crew cab truck, a four-door truck. It is likely going to be a four-wheel drive truck, and it's likely going to have a relatively short bed, probably a 5.5, maybe if you're lucky, a 6.5 foot bed. But that is the most common configuration that people buy half-ton trucks in. So much so that really the only people who buy like standard cab or just two-door pickup trucks these days are usually fleets. They are going to be folks who are using them for commercial applications, for fleet vehicles, service vehicles, things like that. And even then, a lot of them are still buying crew cab trucks. If you look off to the side here, you can see what I'm talking about. Now, why is this such a big deal? Well, I think most people who've watched my channel by now realize that when you buy a truck, pickup truck, the higher the trim package you get it in, with the more amenities and the larger cab configuration, is going to generally reduce the cargo carrying capacity of that vehicle versus a truck that may not have as many amenities in a shorter cab configuration with a two-wheel drive drivetrain. So what does that typically mean, and what does that typically look like? Well, when you see Ram, Ford, General Motors, Toyota, any of them advertise these crazy high payload capacity numbers for half-ton trucks, but on the screen you're looking at a crew cab four-wheel drive relatively high trim truck, oftentimes that can be a little confusing because you're like, is that the truck that I need to get those numbers? But the reality is, and the harsh reality is that no, the truck you have to typically get for those numbers, it's going to be a regular cab truck. It's going to be a work truck configuration with a max tow package in two-wheel drive. And that's the truck most people aren't buying. So when you look at the door sticker, which I always talk about, you have to be sure that the door sticker reflects a cargo carrying capacity that's practical for how you plan on using that vehicle, especially if you're going to be towing trailers or hauling a lot of stuff. And in most cases, that number is probably going to be in the 1,500 to 1,800 pound range. Some trucks go way over that, but most of them are going to be in that range. And a lot of these trucks that are purchased are high trim vehicles like a Denali, a Laramie Longhorn, Laramie, a King Ranch Platinum. You know, they're going to be well-equipped vehicles, and that's going to reduce the payload capacity even further. So again, look at the door sticker, driver's side door sticker, and you're likely going to see a number that's actually going to be closer to between 1,400 to 1,600 pounds. Maybe a few of them that'll be in the 1,700 pound range. But the vast majority of high trim luxury pickup trucks are going to have a relatively low payload capacity. And as you move down to slightly less trimmed vehicles like an XLT package or an SLT package or a Longhorn package, that's where you're more likely to see payload capacity numbers that are between 1,500 and maybe 1,800 and 1,900 pounds. But I would say on average, the most common payload capacity you're going to see is going to be between 1,400 and 1,600 pounds for most half-ton, well-equipped pickup trucks. Now, this has been a hot topic for a long time because people then assume that when I see a half-ton designed fifth wheel, a lot of people can assume that my truck has the capacity, obviously, to support it because it's a half-ton truck. And, you know, if this fifth wheel says half-ton on it, obviously it's designed for a half-ton truck. Now, a lot of that is pure marketing. As I've toured multiple RVs from virtually every brand that claims that they have a half-ton towable traditional fifth wheel, I think most people have realized by now that that's just a bunch of bull. It's not true. You look at the numbers, and most commonly what I see are some lightweight fifth wheels that claim to have like a 10,000 pound GVWR, and it's an ultralight half-ton towable fifth wheel. Now, if this were even a conventional trailer that transfers roughly 10 to 15% to the back of your vehicle, you would still be talking about 1,000 to 1,500 pounds worth of weight being transferred to the back of a half-ton truck, which most half-ton trucks can't support that very well. But because we're talking about a fifth wheel, you're talking more between 15 to 25% of that weight being transferred to the back of a vehicle, which means you're approaching closer to between 1,500 and 2,500 pounds that would be resting on the back of a half-ton pickup truck with, again, between 1,400, and let's stretch it a little bit, let's say 1,400 to 1,800 pounds, which means even a 10,000 pound GVWR fifth wheel transferring 1,500 pounds would leave you very little margin for anything else. By the time you get a fifth wheel hitch and have one person sitting in the vehicle, you're probably 100 plus pounds over what your truck's maximum cargo capacity is. And this is so important because a lot of this doesn't have to do with the point that your truck is going to hit its overload springs or that it's going to rest on its bump stops. This is more the fact that the truck may not handle the weight well whenever you go over bumps or expansion joints or divided roads and you hit something that causes the back of the suspension to want to bounce. It can create a very dangerous towing situation. So I have pretty much just said half-ton trucks and fifth wheels don't really go together unless it's like a boutique brand fifth wheel that only transfers maybe 800, 900 pounds to the back of your vehicle. Well, all that said, a specific RV manufacturer, which I'm not going to mention the name now until they're further along and they're ready for their name to be mentioned, has really wanted to take on the idea of creating a traditional lightweight fifth wheel that is towable by a half-ton truck. So basically what we're talking about is, you know, let's say you look at like our Forest River Surveyor, which has a GVWR of about 6,700 pounds, dry weight of about 5,000 pounds, puts it right into that kind of honey spot in the middle if you don't load it up all the way to where a half-ton truck can carry it. When we talk about the weight that's over the back, we're talking typically about 650 pounds, which again falls well within the realm of most half-ton pickup trucks. But this manufacturer wants to do a fifth wheel, and they want it to be a relatively small fifth wheel that probably has a GVWR. If everything works out the way they're kind of trying to make it work out, of around 6,000 to 7,000 pounds, and will possibly transfer about 1,000 pounds to the back of your vehicle. Now, the conversations back and forth via text message and call have been very interesting because the GM of this specific RV manufacturer will just randomly send me a text message that says 1,100 pounds, question mark. So then I have to reply back, dry weight or loaded? And he replies back, dry. I said, too heavy. And then I explain why, again, where I basically say that, okay, let's say you're 1,100 pounds dry. Let's say you tack 400 pounds onto that for all the stuff that you have in your vehicle, people, your fifth wheel hitch, which is still actually conservative. The fact is it's probably going to be closer to 600 to 800 pounds additionally on top of that 1,100 pounds of just stuff in the vehicle, just stuff in the truck. And then you say you tack on about 300, 400 pounds worth of additional pin weight once the RV is loaded, and that's very conservatively speaking. You're going to be well over 2,000 pounds, probably in the 2,500 pound range of weight on the truck when everything is said and done, which is about 1,000 pounds over what most people can use a half-ton truck for. Now, on all of these text strings and calls, I typically reply back what I think the honey spot needs to be. And what I think that honey spot needs to be is 1,000 pounds loaded. And what do I mean by that? I mean that the total amount of weight transferring from the fifth wheel to the back of the truck needs to be at or below 1,000 pounds. Now let's venture to say that 1,000 pounds worth of pin weight is going to reduce your truck's cargo carrying capacity from 1,800 to 800. So we have the fifth wheel over the back of the truck. Then let's just say it's a couple. And let's say the total weight of that couple is 400 pounds. So, and again, I'm just being kind of random here with my numbers, but now you have 400 pounds worth of people. So now you have 400 pounds left in terms of cargo capacity, right? 1,000 pounds off of 1,800 is 800 pounds. 400 pounds off of 800 leaves you 400 pounds of cargo capacity. Now you need to throw a fifth wheel hitch in the bed of your truck. And let's just say about 200 pounds for a traditional fifth wheel hitch, plus the rails you'll need to install, because I don't know of any remaining half-ton trucks that give you a fifth wheel gooseneck prep package built into it. So you're going to have to install rails, and you're going to have to install it in a way that works well with the specific type of hitches that will work with your rails. So again, total weight of all of that stuff, let's just be conservative and say 200 pounds. So now you have 200 pounds remaining. So 200 pounds remaining would be for anything else that you put inside the vehicle, anything else that you bring with you. But in my opinion, that would be your safety margin. That would be your margin of error. That would be so you're not riding and loading that truck at maximum capacity. But again, keep in mind, most crew cab half-ton trucks are only going to have about 1,600 pounds worth of cargo capacity. So 1,000 pound pin weight would work well, assuming it's really only 2 people in the vehicle. If you have a family, you have more people, you have to then do the math and deduct that off of what your vehicle's payload capacity is, plus all the stuff you have in your vehicle, including the fifth wheel hitch, as well as the rails and everything else you're going to have to attach to the vehicle so you can even haul a fifth wheel in the first place. And then you have to take into account how much weight you're loading in the fifth wheel itself and what that's doing to the vehicle. So these conversations are ongoing. Whenever we get to a point to where there's an RV and it's verifiably loaded up to 1,000 pounds worth of pin weight, not dry weight, but again, I'm thinking more like 600 pounds dry weight with roughly 400 pounds of additional stuff that would bring the pin weight up to about 1,000 pounds. But when that RV is produced and I can talk more about it, I will share more with you about it. But my question for you all for the comment section is, how do you all feel about a bona fide fifth wheel for a half-ton truck with the weights that I've been talking about, right? It would really mean that the fifth wheel would have to have like a 6,000, 6,500, maybe 7,000 pound maximum GVWR. But these are all kind of scenarios that manufacturers want to know. Is there interest in this type of a product? And if there is, let me know in the comments section. Anyways, sure hope you enjoyed this video. It's kind of a driving rant. I know a lot of people miss those, but this is for true research and development into a fifth wheel that is truly half-ton towable, which a lot of people really have been asking about, and they request more information on all the time. So again, drop a comment below. Let me know what you would like to see in a true half-ton towable fifth wheel, and we'll pass that information along to the manufacturer and see if that's something that might be able to happen. Anyways, guys, sure hope you enjoyed the video. If you haven't had a chance, please take a moment, subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up, and we will talk to you again very soon.